All right, welcome to episode 3 of Beer and Business Applications. I'm here in New Zealand attending Dynamics 365 Saturday in Wellington and Auckland. And I figure this will be a really good opportunity to do episode number 3 with Gayan, who's a Microsoft MVP like myself. And yesterday we were having some dinner and you asked me a really good question, which was, does it make sense from the point of view of a partner essentially to focus on services or to, I guess, work on a solution or an application that you can then sell and kind of focus on being an ISV, I guess.
Yeah.
And I thought this would be a good conversation to have on camera on this episode. So cheers. Just go ahead and grab a beer and
Good to have you here.
Join us. Yeah, thank you. All right. So the question is, does it make sense to start an ISV or to be an ISV versus being a services partner? And I think, for me, it all depends on what you're trying to do. We were talking about this where, for me, I happen to have been working in services for so long. I've been implementing Dynamics for years now. I can imagine kind of shifting gears and now being an ISV, right? Yeah. Creating a solution and doing that. I do see the value on it. Like, it's something that is very attractive to me would be that if you create an application, as it gets adopted, as it gets bought essentially by customers out there, you're essentially making money as you sleep, right? Exactly. This thing is being used all the time, and that is something that is very attractive. But what do you think?
Yeah, that's the thing that we found. So at Magnetism, we're primarily a services company, and when we deliver a project, we take on what the client requires and we deliver what's required to get the customer to be valuable to their customers. With a product, I guess it's a little bit different, where you know what you're building, and you can get your team to be cohesive around a vision around that product. So you can get people to be passionate about one single thing, whereas with a service business, you're always working on different projects all the time, and people swap in and out of those projects from time to time. So yeah, it's a difficult thing, whether you could juggle both at the same time. Let's talk about it, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good conversation to have, because when I became a pro, essentially, because as a lot of people know, I started as a CRM administrator for a company that used CRM for a living, but they weren't a partner. At some point I made it to being a professional when I was a technical lead, and the company I worked for, they were an ISV. They were ISV of the year for several years in a row, actually, for Dynamics CRM. But the solution that we sold came along with an implementation. It was never just sold as is and then you use it. It was always implemented as part of a project. So when we were hired to implement the solution, which was the solution for law firms exclusively, the law firms would have customizations and things that would make them unique based on the kind of law they practice or the amount of lawyers they have or countries they're on or whatever it is. And every sale essentially of that solution was an implementation. So it was kind of a half and half. I think that officially we were an ISV and we supported the product as an ISV. We created patches, we dealt with bugs, just like every ISV, and we innovated. But then on top of that, we would have solution architects and functional consultants that would actually implement the solution for the customer. So for that company, we were both, and it seemed to work, right? For that organization. Our organization eventually was acquired, and I think the company that acquired was acquired, and then that company was acquired. That was so long ago. But it worked for them. It worked for them to be an ISV and an implementer at the same time. But can you really be good at both? Yeah. What do you think?
I think you can. So taking that example, what you're talking about is having a base solution, then you add a layer of customization per customer to get their specific requirements met. So we've done this a couple of times for our clients. So there's a group called a Regional Support Trust, and there's about 24 of them across New Zealand. And if you look at each one of them trying to implement Dynamics by themselves, they'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars doing it. So what happened was, there's a governing body across all of them. They said, hey, we'll provide funding for one organization to build the base, and the base should cater for everyone because the requirements from the government are essentially the same, and they're trying to do the same thing. So we said, okay, we will build you the base, and then we have it as a managed solution that gets put on everyone's tenant, and then they can customize and add business processes, business rules
On top of
for
it.
themselves. And
Right.
we've built it once. One regional trust pays us to do the module, and then they then are responsible for delivering it to their other regional trusts. So I think you can. We didn't take advantage of that where we own the IP to it because we don't have the infrastructure to manage all of it, but I think you can, where we could have said, we had the potential to say, hey, we will build it, we'll manage it for you, and we will roll it out to all of the 24. And if you think about it, you might be able to charge $5,000-$10,000 per month for this type of solution. And if you add it up across all 24, that's a
That's pretty good.
good amount of passive income. You
Yeah.
can have a couple of people supporting it full time. So yeah, I think the thing to understand will be having some domain IP that you can leverage, build it, deploy it.
Yeah. And at least for us at Elevate Solutions, we don't have any like applications listed in AppSource or anything. We're not pursuing that business of becoming an independent software vendor, an ISV. But you guys have some stuff listed
Yeah.
there, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, maybe I'll tell you a bit of a funny story at the same
All
time.
right,
Yeah,
let's hear
we've
it.
got two listed. One is an integration between an accounting system for Xero and Dynamics, that we've had it up there since 2007.
Yeah.
The other one, again, it came out of building a specific piece of functionality for a client. Initially, we put it up on open source, GitHub, say, hey, developers, here you go, have it. You can build custom screens through it. And then we started seeing a lot of people were downloading it, so we thought, let's turn it into a product. And now it's got something like 800,000 active users every month.
So how much are you guys getting paid per user on this?
We made a mistake. We made a mistake with licensing, but licensing is a very tough thing to get right. So at the moment, we charge per copy, per organization, not per user. But we
okay.
didn't think about this up front. So that's probably like,
Man.
we're developers. So
If you were charging like $1 per user, we would be having this conversation on your private plane right now. Private jet, yeah.
Private resort. But,
Exactly.
yeah. So you got to get the pricing right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so, and I think, I also would like for you watching this, having a beer with us, to comment below and tell us what you think about whether organizations could be ISV and implementers or be really good at both. Because again, I see that there's a lot of companies out there listing solutions in AppSource, but they don't really operate like an ISV. They have no intention on maintaining this thing, supporting it. It's sort of like they put it out there in order for them to get like a consulting business. They're really consulting firms, service companies that are trying to fetch for other organizations, right? A company comes in looking for an integration to an ERP system or whatever it is, and what we're banking on as a solution provider, as a service provider, is that you then come and ask about it, and we can sell you a project on helping you integrate and do everything correctly, which there's nothing wrong with that, but they're not operating as a full-on ISV the way Click Dimensions does, or Kingsway Soft, or some of these other ISV firms, right? So I wonder if you work for a company, a partner like that, if you're watching this, what do you work for? Who do you work for? And do you think your company could benefit from exploring the other side, whatever that is? So if you work for an ISV, would it make sense to open up some kind of service team and try to do some consulting? Or if you work for a services organization, would it make sense to create some of the solutions because you're constantly creating solutions for your customers, and maybe you could repackage some of those things and offer them a solution? So I'd like to hear comments on that. But for you, if you had to pick one, and of course you guys are heavily focused on services, but if you had to pick what to start right now, so if you could start a company looking forward at the benefits, pros and cons of each one, which one would you be? Which one would you do?
Good question. Grass is always greener on the other side. We started as a service company, then kind of evolved into an ISV, but even now it's still 80% service, 20% ISV. So the ISV route looks like it's a good way to go if I was to start again. but that
Or charging
requires-
$1 per user.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't quite
800,000
see
users.
that when you start, you know.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount of capital that has to go in to building a product,
Right.
and then you still have to support it. So that's a hard one. So it will be good to understand from people who have done it and have become successful, like Shan, for example, with
Yeah.
the portal, and then he's got a consulting thing. I think it's been
ADX
sold
Studio
to
and Adoption,
KPMG,
yeah.
so he's done really well. So it'll be good to hear from him. Yeah, I don't know, but if I was to start again, I think it would be a product company because it would have one vision, easier to get people to buy into that vision, to communicate the vision, and you're not building ad hoc stuff for different people all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but who knows?
But like you said, it takes time, right? It takes a lot of time and effort. For me, for example, I have plenty of ideas. I get ideas constantly about solutions for Dynamics, some solutions that they just don't exist out there, that I'm sort of baffled. Like, how come no one has invented this thing, right? And I can certainly see the potential. I'm like, if I could just stop doing implementations and develop this solution out there, then I could be an ISV. I mean, I see the potential on it, but at the same time, first of all, I enjoy doing implementations tremendously, and second of all, if I stop doing implementations, I don't have enough money to focus on being an ISV.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like this caveat on, you know, even though it sounds cool and like you said, the grass is green on the other side, it's hard.
It's hard.
to make it happen. Yeah. So
And I do
we'll see.
enjoy the service side.
Yeah.
You see customers, you see different problems. Sometimes you can take
solving problems is the best.
Yeah,
Of course.
oh, you get a big
Business
enjoyment,
challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to hear from people. I wish somebody could record a video in response to this one. Hopefully you can do that on kind of talking about what are the steps that you would follow to, if you were to make the transition. So if you were in our position, yours, mine, or whatever, and you say, okay, so if I was doing all this consulting and I have these great ideas, maybe I would approach it this way. Maybe I would invest half of my time or my weekends or my nights or whatever working on that solution. I wouldn't let it just die or stay in my head, which is the way it works right now. I'm not spending any time really working on these solutions. It's just kind of in my head. But if you've done it before, I would love to hear from you, telling us, you know, how would you do it?
Yeah.
If you have these
That'd be
ideas in your
awesome.
head, how do you do it? Any last thoughts? Anything else that we should, you know, bring it up? And again, this is kind of a conversation at a bar with people that are having a beer with us. What would you ask?
Is there a possibility of crowdsourcing some of these ideas? You know, you have ideas. I know Mark Smith, he's got a ton of ideas. I've got ideas, but we all have 24 hours in a day
Yeah.
to be split amongst work and family and the community stuff. So is there a way of putting the idea out there and then everyone benefiting from that idea? Because there'll be people that have spare time that could input into building it, people that could support it. So like a crowdfunding way of
Right.
actually getting this stuff out there. Because if you come up with the idea, you must have seen that it's going to be valuable to someone.
Absolutely.
So why not try to get it out there, even if it doesn't fly? Who cares? You've given it a shot.
Yeah, it's a really good. I've never thought of it. Really good idea. It's just I guess the question would be, if the ideas that you have in your head are ideas that are financially an asset to
Yeah.
have, right? Do you really want to put it out there and just tell everybody, right? If you were inventing the microwave,
Yeah.
right? Do you want? And I'm not saying that my ideas are the next microwave or the CRM microwave or
could
whatever.
be.
It could be, like, who knows? But I think that is the challenge. If it's something easy, like, I don't know, I have an idea to create a solution that moves documents to SharePoint after, let's say, attachments to SharePoint after a month that I, you know, if you come up with an idea like that, then I think, yes, crowdsourcing will be a good way of doing it, where people will work on a solution like the XM Toolbox or whatever. We continue to create solutions like that are great for the community. But I think that when it comes to solutions that could become a business, it's hard to find someone. And I'm just trying to think, like, I wonder how many people are out there with great ideas that we have no idea about,
Exactly, yeah.
and that we'll never probably see because they don't have time to work on them, but they also don't share them.
Yeah.
So I can see the pros and cons of each one. It's sort of like, I don't want to give it up because it could be a business, but I'm also not doing something with it. So, I don't know. It's,
we can ask a couple of the other MVPs.
we should start a company of some kind. Like, if you have a cool idea, we'll work on it, and if it makes money, we'll give you half.
Yeah.
You know, or something like that. That would be cool, because I'm sure a lot of people watching have great ideas.
We'll pay in beers.
Yeah, we're paying beers. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, I think that, we can wrap up the episode here from Auckland, New Zealand. Once again, thank you so much for being part of the show. Hopefully we get to record another one before I leave.
That'd be awesome.
We'll see you on the next one.
Catch you later.